Morning. Welcome to our Primogenital channel. This is the first content to make in this year 2023. The last content was made in November 2022. I want us today to remind ourselves on the list of American presidents. Just looking at the number of presidents that the great United States have had, from 1 up to 46 this year. This year, 2023, we are talking about the 46th president, who's John Biden. All right. To start with, number one, we had George Washington, who led the great United States from 1789 up until 1797. He was a very careful, disciplined, loyalty, systematic, and judicious, and logically inclined person. That was George Washington. This is actually the guy who the DC is named after, the state of Washington, which houses the White House. Yes, and then number two, we had John Adams. He took over office from Washington in 1797, and he worked there until 1801. His character was INTJ. He was introverted, reserved, and spent a lot of time in his own mind as he continued to work best. Number three, we had Thomas Jefferson, who led America from 1801 until 1809, spending 8 years in office. He was a very quiet, easygoing, curious, highly intelligent, open and direct person, a character he had during his tenure in office. Number four was James Madison, who worked as the White House boss from 1809 until 1817, with an achievement of writing several federal papers in U.S. Constitution as a president. He was a very shy person, reserved with strangers and weak, which made him his image look poor. Number five was James Monroe, who led USA from 1817 up until 1825, succeeding Madison. He had integrity, frankness, and affable. He impressed the USA domestic issues. Number six was Quincy Jones, who led USA from 1825 to 1829. He built a 185 miles C&O Canal in 1803. He financed scientific expeditions and established a national university, as well as formulating the Monroe Doctrine. He formulated the doctrine of the guy he succeeded in office, who was President number 5, James Monroe. Number six was Andrew Jackson, who took over office as the United States House Master from Quincy Jones from 1829 until 1837 for 2 terms. He laid the framework for democracy, paid off national debts, gained new land to expand the United States of America, and issued a new currency. What a president. All right, number 8. Number 8 was Martin van Buren, who took office in 1837 up to 1841. He was optimistic, cheerful, guilty to smile and laugh. He opposed slavery and proposed an independent treasury. Sounds like my hero now here for black people who were enslaved for so long, but when he came to office, he opposed the enslavement of people and proposed that everybody must just be independent. Number 9 was William Henry, who was a soldier, and he took part and fought in the 1794 Battle of Fallen Timbers against India. He also fought in the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811 with Tecumseh or the Tippecanoeans, and he only led for 31 days and died in Washington from pneumonia as some of his lungs tissues were affected or infected with bacteria and got swollen. He led from 1841 up to 1841. He died just spending several months, not even completing a year. And then there was President number 10, who was John Taylor, who led America from 1841 up to 1845. He took part in the discussion of Webster-Ashburton Treaty with GBR, and he accomplished his U.S. aims during the treaty. Number 11 was James Knox Polk, who led from 1845 up to 49. He accomplished everything he promised during his campaign. He managed to acquire Oregon Territory, California, New Mexico, and added them to the USA and lowered the tariff rate. Number 12 was Zachary Taylor, who was the USA president from 1849 until 1850. He was a general in the U.S. Navy during the Mexican-American War in 1812, 38 years before he became president. Number 13 was Millard Fillmore, who led from 1850 up to 1853, and he signed the Fugitive Slave Act and returned runaway slaves to their owners. The slaves who ran away from their owners were retained by this president. Life was tough for them. Number 14 was Franklin Pierce, who led the White House from 1853 to 1857. He was always characterized by an outgoing, pleasant, charming, genital, open and direct character. He was also ESTP, introversion, intuition, thinking and perceiving. Number 15. 15 was James Buchanan, who led the White House from 1857 up to 61. He was always outgoing, genial, generous, and dignified, loyal and highly principled person. That was his character, James Buchanan, the 15th President of the great United States. Number 16 was Abraham Lincoln, who was the 16th U.S. head of state beginning from 1861 to 1865. After his timely death while watching a theater in April at the Ford Theater, his assassin stood close to him in the picture. He is remembered as an honest, humiliating, courageous, just, and graceful. He was the tallest president of USA, clocking in at 6 foot and 6 inches. And then 17 was Andrew Johnson, who took over from Lincoln in 1865 up to 1869. He was an honest and honorable man. President number 18 was Ulysses S. Grant, who led the White House from 1869 up to 1877 for 2 terms. He was a humiliating and full of integrity person. Number 19 was Rutherford B. Hayes, who became the president number 19 from 1877 until 1881. He managed to reform civil services, and he reconciled the division left by the American Civil War. This president actually brought people together, Calcutta style. Number 20 was President number 20 of the U.S., who was none other than James A. Garfield, from 1881 until he was assassinated the same year. He advocated for agriculture technology. Number 21 was Chester Alan Arthur, who led USA for 5 years, beginning in 1881 all the way to 1885. He was a lawyer and politician born in 1829 in Fairfield, and he was married to Nell Arthur. He advocated for Civil Service Reform Act. He rebirthed the Navy but failed to alleviate the federal budget. Number 22 was Grover Cleveland, who led USA from 1885 to 1889. He too was a lawyer and politician. He was born in 1837 and grew up as a Democrat. He was praised for honesty, self-reliant, integrity, and committed. Number 23 was Benjamin Harrison, who took over from Grover Cleveland from 1889 to 1893. He too was a lawyer and politician and great-grandson of Benjamin Harrison, founder of Great Industries. He was chosen because he had a great war record and popular among the veterans. Now, President number 24 was the same guy who became President number 22 in 1885. His name was Grover Cleveland, who was re-elected for another term after his successor Benjamin Harrison. His personal character of being honest, self-reliant, as well as being committed, paid him great respect. President number 25 was William McKinley, who led USA from 1897 to 1901. He made the Republican Party dominant in industrial states. He was born in 1843. He was killed in 1901 in New York City by Logos, who believed he was corrupt. So some people used to kill their presidents by then just because they were corrupt. I don't know about you today. Is it good or bad? That's for the public to decide. Number 26 was Theodore Roosevelt, who led USA from 1901 up to 1909. He was referred to as Teddy or TR. He was a soldier, historian, and writer. He was born in 1858 in a farm. He was an antitrust and progressive policymaker. That was Theodore Roosevelt. Number 27 was William Howard, who took the White House Pentagon office from 1909 to 1913, a year before World War I. He was born in 1857 in Ohio, USA. He was the 10th Chief Justice holding both offices. He introduced postal saving systems. He formed the interstate commerce and prosecuted over 75 trust busters. That was William Howard. President number 28 was Woodrow Wilson, who led USA from 1913 all the way to 1921, through the First World War, through the Treaty of Versailles, and unstable Europe. He was born in 1856. He created the League of Nations to make the world safe after World War I. He gave women the right to vote, hated child labor, and introduced the 8 working hours per day. This is Woodrow Wilson. President number 29 was Warren G. Harding, who led USA from 1921 up to 1923, born in 1856 in Ohio, USA. He signed the Budget and Accounting Act. He created the Bureau of Budget and introduced the McClellan tariffs. President number 30 was Calvin Coolidge, who led from 1923 to 1929 during the Wall Street clash. He was born in 1872 and he was a lawyer. He was a governor of the Massachusetts states. He had a dry sense of humor and he was nicknamed the Silent Cab. President number 31 was number 31 of USA was Herbert Hoover, who led from 1929, the time of the Great Depression, up to 1933. He was a politician and engineer. He led U.S. during the Great Depression. He was a mining engineer and a great humanitarian who led war on Europe in World War I. President number 32 was Franklin D. Roosevelt, who led USA from 1933 through World War II all the way to 1945 when he died. His nickname was FDR, born in 1882. He was respected for implementing his New Deal domestic agenda to recover the economy. President number 33 was Harry S. Truman, who led USA from 1945 to 1953. He first was the vice to Roosevelt. He ordered the destruction of the two Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki with an atomic bomb in an attempt to defeat Japan in World War II so that America can go and concentrate in Europe to assist his Western allies. He led USA during the Victory Europe Day after the catastrophe of Adolf Hitler. President number 40 was Ronald Reagan, who was born in 1911 and was a Californian governor in 1967 to 75. He became president of the U.S. in 1881 until 1989. He was a movie actor for the movie Knute Rockne, All-American 1940. He supplied economic policies, reduced tax and government spendings. President number 41 was George H.W. Bush, who was born in 1924 in Massachusetts. He was a politician, diplomat, and businessman. He led a large coalition which defeated Iraq following its invasion in Kuwait, but he allowed Saddam Hussein to be in power. He led USA from 1989 up to 1993. And then 42 was Bill Clinton, who led USA from 1993 up to 2001. He was born in 1946. He became governor of Arkansas in 1979 up to 1981. He expanded economically in Africa, signed NAFTA, the North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement, and led Violent Crime Control and Laws Enforcement Act but failed to reform national health care. That was his disadvantage, the 42nd USA President, Bill Clinton. Number 43, the President number 43 of USA was George W. Bush, who was born in 1946 by the former 41st U.S. President and wife. He was a governor of Texas in 1995 up to 2000. He was in the Air Force in 1968 during the Vietnam War. He was the wartime president of USA in the aftermath of terrorist airborne Osama bin Laden, who attacked the Twin Tower during his presidency in the event known as 9/11. Now, President number 44 was Barack Hussein Obama, who was born in 1961 in Hawaii, Honolulu Island. He was the first African American president of USA. He signed the Affordable Care Act, ACA, known as the Obama Care Task Don't Tell or Repeat Act of 2010. He ordered the operation that killed Osama bin Laden and Muammar Gaddafi. His father was a Kenyan student, Obama Barack, from the province of Kogero in Kenya, who went to study in USA and then mingled with a white lady, and then they gave birth to Barack Obama, who became the president of USA. What a great history. And then the second last president for this up to now was Donald Trump, the richest Donald Trump, the great Donald Trump. He was born in 1946 in the Jamaica Hospital in New York. He was an American politician, media personality, and businessman. He lost to Joe Biden after serving one term in office. He ruled USA through the COVID-19 pandemic and before the Russo-Ukraine war. He protested the defeat in elections but lost for good. He led from 2017 up to 2021. And then the last up to date, who's the 46th president, is Joe Biden, who was born in 1942. He was the vice to Obama and persuaded the world to consider giving dire sanctions to Russia during her attack on Ukraine, and still goes on. Well, thank you for listening very well. That was the list of American presidents. And now in our new video, we are going to look at the African heroes who had a tragic ending. These African leaders were actually praised for a moment. They had great ideas. They were supposed to be the leaders to save the black race from the problems that it has today, but due to the humanity behavior, these guys had a tragic ending. But for today, that was the list of American presidents. Until we meet again, please like, share, and subscribe to our Primogenital channel if you want to be part of the next content that we are going to discuss. Thank you very much. Thank you.